still like switching up stuff on OBS, trying to figure out a new look.
Yeah.
I guess is what you could call it. So it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Now. I don't want to have that like lower thirds thing that we usually have down at the bottom. I don't want it there all the time.
Okay.
So I'm doing a thing where I can like turn it off and on. They know that we are talking about Death-Defying Doctor Mirage this week here on the review show. That's the podcast that we're doing this week. Hello, everyone. How are you guys? This is episode 90 of the review show. My name is Kyle Springer. I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you doing?
I'm good. How is your beautiful, warm weekend, Kyle?
Yeah, it is fantastic. It's like 70 degrees here in Richmond, and that's unheard of. January 13th, and it's 70 degrees outside.
You and I are on a similar longitude, whichever is the horizontal one. And St. Louis can also get mild in January. I think it was like in the 50s, getting close to 60 last week. But last night it sleeted and snowed several inches. And the whole world out there is just like white and mushy. Mushy and crusty.
That's the worst kind of like snow, like the day after where it snowed enough to like stick around, but it's like half melted and it's all just slush.
Oh, it's not bad. The roads are still slightly iffy in, you know, in like the corners of some parking lots or on like little neighborhood roads. The major ones are fine, but the sun hasn't come out yet. There's enough like transportation and heat on the ground so that the roads are okay, but the trees are still covered in snow. So it is really pretty.
That's good.
So I'm just going to sit on my couch and bundle up and drink a cocoa and just look at them trees.
Nice. That's a good weekend. Or a good start to your week.
We can do that tomorrow.
So, well, let's see. Like I mentioned at the start, this week we are talking about the Death-Defying Doctor Mirage Volumes 1 and 2. This actually worked out perfect because I've been reading a bunch of Valiant comics, kind of off and on for the past 3 years now, maybe. I don't know, 2-3 years. And I've read a ton of their stuff from when they relaunched the company and the like line of comics, because they were around in the 90s for a long time, and then they went bankrupt and they disappeared for a bit, and then like 2010-ish they were like, we're back. And they actually have some really cool comics, and I've been reading those slowly but surely, and one of the very next things I needed to read was the Death-Defying Doctor Mirage Volumes 1 and 2.
Oh, good.
So that is secretly why I pitched it. I was just like, I can just continue what I need to read next by pitching this. And you happened to pick it.
It sounded cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think? Why, besides it sounded cool, did you want to pick this one?
Oh, I just always love supernatural things. That's a real soft spot of mine, like demons and ghosts and, you know, alternate dimensions where you do a ritual and then you're in the land of the dead and you can't like eat anything or you'll be stuck there. That kind of stuff always gets me. And I liked the tragic romance angle of it, like from the starting point of the series being this woman can speak to all of the dead except for her late husband, and she can't figure out why.
Yeah.
That's a really neat starting point. Because you imagine it'll probably get better from there. So it's like just enough tragedy. Yeah, hopefully. It's like just enough tragedy to be exciting, but it doesn't feel like it would be so much that it's like, oh, this is just a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, it's oddly hopeful.
Yes.
As well, because if that is the premise, there is this sense of like constantly searching for something better, or like, hey, if I can just find him, it'll all be good. And so there is this like, I think it's going to happen at some point. right?
Yeah.
Like, it has to. Otherwise, that wouldn't really be the premise of the thing. But yeah, so I remember when this originally came out, I really liked the covers. The artwork on the covers for this is fantastic. Let's see. These books are written by Jen Van Meter, with art by Roberto De La Torre, David Barron, and Dave Lapnier. Or Lanfear. There you go. Dave Lanfear. There you go. But yeah, there's all sorts of really cool covers on this book, and I've always wanted to check it out, but I never did. So I was like, I hadn't read Valiant Comics. I don't know if I'm jumping in the middle of something or not.
You're not. I'll say this to the audience. I don't feel like this required any prior knowledge. We read Quantum and Woody last year for the podcast, which is another Valiant Comics title. I didn't see any connective tissue between these two. So it's helpful. I mean, it's fun to imagine what else could be out there because you know what's out there and you just have to imagine how.
Yeah.
It's a neat bonus, but yeah, definitely not required.
So for those of you guys who might not know, Valiant Comics, they focus on superhero comics. They have a shared universe similar to what Marvel does or what DC Comics does, where all of their comics take place in the same universe. So you can read Batman, or you can read Wonder Woman, or whoever else, and you know it's all in the same spot. Valiant does the same thing. However, they don't publish as many comics. It's like they publish 8 books a month compared to DC's like 60 something. So if you want to read the entire Valiant universe, you can, and it's much more manageable, and you will know everything that is happening there. And that's kind of neat to be able to do that. But then if you really only care about something like the Death-Defying Doctor Mirage, that's really all you need to read. I will say, between Quantum and Woody and what we read here in the Death-Defying Doctor Mirage, these kind of take place more on the fringe of the Valiant universe, which is why there hasn't been much connective tissue. I think I caught one reference to another book of like, I think I've seen that term before. So not much. But yeah, I like this. There were some things that I really did not like, but we'll get into that in spoilers and stuff. Let's do a synopsis for people who might not have read the book along with us. We encourage you guys to read along at home.
Yeah, you can do it. This was all on Comixology Unlimited. So if you have that Comixology account, it is at that point free.
Exactly. Okay. Synopsis time.
Okay.
Death-Defying Doctor Mirage. Shan Fong is the main character's name. Shan Fong-Mirage is
hyphen Mirage.
Full name, yeah. She is a paranormal investigator type of person. It turns out that they used to have a TV show where they would talk about that stuff and investigate things.
Yeah.
And eventually, her husband, I guess the Mr. Mirage, he passed away, and he has been dead for the past 5 years. But Shan has the power to speak to the dead, and unfortunately, she can't contact her husband. That's the only person she cannot find, and so she's like, something's up here. I need to figure this out. Why can I not talk with him? And so the book kind of starts out from there. She gets hired for a job to go investigate some paranormal stuff. Things kind of spiral out of control, and we go from there. It's good. It's fun.
It is.
I liked it a lot. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add to my vague synopsis?
Just to say that The magic in this is really cool, and it's this sort of general thing. Like, there's not a lot of it that is specifically tied to any culture or mythology that you're aware of, but everything that they mention seems like it could be part of some old folk tale you just haven't heard before. It's really neat, like, whole cloth invention of this afterlife system.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. Housekeeping. Let's do some housekeeping, and then we will get into spoilers. Last week, I mentioned our 4-year anniversary retrospective. Again, if you have not checked it out, go check it out. It's a long one, but it is packed with announcements and good times, us reminiscing on all of the stuff that we made in 2019. Excuse me.
Yes.
So lots of cool announcements there. Go check that stuff out. Also, one thing that I want to draw attention to, we have a kind of change in formula here at the review show. Melissa, do you want to tell the people what is coming up at the end of the month here?
Yeah, we are going to try doing something new where the last episode of every month, we're going to keep watching the same show through its conclusion, or at least to whatever the latest season available for us to watch is. Because normally we do things week by week, so we can only watch something that takes about a week's time, something that's one season, maybe 2 seasons if they're both short. We wanted the chance to really sit with something and absorb the entirety of a story. So last week of the month, we're going to be following an entirety of something. And the show we're starting with is the Adult Swim cartoon The Venture Brothers, which is an old favorite of mine. And we are going to be starting with the first 2 seasons. Those are both available on Hulu, and they're both 13 episodes each.
And this will continue from month to month.
Yes.
So at the end of February, we will still be continuing to cover Adventure Bros seasons 3 and 4, I think. So
yeah,
there you go. Sweet. Go check out our website for more information about all of our podcasts. You guys can find out all sorts of stuff there, as well as your podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts. That's where you can find us. All of our shows will pop up right there. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us. You guys can get access to the live streams of this show. You guys can be watching us right now on YouTube. That would be great to have you join us and join in on the conversation. You guys can get exclusive content. We can also give you a shout out if you are at our $5 tier. So thank you to Sam and Christine for helping us out so much. We appreciate you tons.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's it for housekeeping. Let's move on to spoilers. All right. That
graphic is
perfect.
complete.
Graphic
the sound
complete.
effects are done.
See, this is where you can have your like movie studio set thing that you got and be like, okay, scene 3, go.
I'll bring it next week because I will spoil you. My 3 pitches are all movies.
Okay.
It would be a little weird if we did it for like a comic book.
I mean, comic book movies. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Where do you want to start with this? Is there something that jumped out to you? Because there's.
I think I just want to.
Go ahead.
I want to hear what you want to say because you said there were a lot of things you didn't like, and I'm curious what these specifically were.
Mainly Volume 1. I didn't like Volume 1.
I'm with you there. I didn't strongly dislike it, but I did like Volume 2 a lot more.
Agreed. Yeah. Volume 1 to me felt like Volume 4.
Yes.
I was kind of thrown into the middle of stuff. They don't hold your hand, which I kind of appreciate. That
yes.
I have to kind of work to keep up with what's happening, but they're throwing around terminology and things that it makes it seem like I should be familiar with them, and I'm not. And so that kind of threw me for a loop, and it was just it was a lot to take in, and I think because I didn't understand it, I was just like, yeah, I'm not really following this stuff here. So
I got most of the magic, and this might be me as like a more supernatural and fantasy interested person than you are, that I like, I don't know, speak that language of made up magic stuff better.
I'm fine with magic and stuff like that, but not like high fantasy, like orcs and elves and dragons and all that stuff. I'm just like, okay, not for me.
Just plain old human wizards that like wear sneakers and drive a car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Got it. I kind of liked being just put right in mythology wise.
Sure.
And I feel like I caught up well enough to all that, but it is a big, bold choice that volume 1, like the end of the first issue, it's like, well, we're going into the netherworld. I'm doing a ritual. I'm going into the afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, it's more that I enjoy paranormal stuff rather than fantasy stuff.
Yeah, and that's what this does, is that instead of showing you how the magic interacts with the real world, she's going straight into an all magic universe.
Yeah. But I think for me, the person that was hiring her, Linton March, I believe is his name, I don't even really know what he was trying to get her to do. I'm still confused on that.
So he had that sort of Gill man locked up in his basement, and he had this psychic chain around his wrist that like was connecting him to the Gill man. And he's like, I know you're a medium. Can you break this? Like, I messed around with supernatural stuff decades ago in my youth as this soldier of fortune. I can't do this anymore. You got to sever the ties. And then the Gill man's like talking to Shan, like mentally is like, you do have to sever the ties, but I am not on this guy's side. Like, we kind of want the same thing, but not for the same reasons. Like, you can't trust him, but you can trust me. And Shan's like, okay, I think I can trust the Gill man.
See, I got that, but it made it seem like she wasn't supposed to discover this like weird Gill man thing.
Yeah, because that's right, because he's like, get this chain off of me. And then she hears like the Gill man talking to her from its like alcove behind a curtain in the basement. She's like, what's this? Does this have anything to do with that psychic chain on your wrist?
He's like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, the stuff with Linton March is a little muddy, and he's got that group of like old cohorts that are there that are trying to like do
cult people. Yeah,
and like I couldn't really tell any of them apart. They're just like all old white men in suits, and
all white people look alike.
I don't like they're all dressed the same. Like they're all like the same type of guy, the same archetype. Not one of them felt like, well, he's the smart one, and that's the action one. Like they're just all kind of the same.
That's Action Jim over there.
See, it wasn't even like they were a mob or something where they have nicknames and like, that's that guy's specialty. They sort of all blended together, and I could never exactly get a handle on like I think what they had been doing is it's like that Nazi occult thing that pops up in various narratives, like an Indiana Jones sort of. Yeah, it is very Hellboy. Right down to the Gill man.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I didn't really know what Linton March was up to exactly. And then, those occult people who were also there was just like, well, what do they want? Like, do they have to do with this change? Like, why do they want the change? Is that even what they want off of this dude? I don't know. Why are they trying to kill him now? This makes no sense. I don't know. That being said, I really like the exploration of that kind of netherworld, underworld part.
Yeah.
And here's one of the connections that I think might be a connection.
Okay.
So there's another Valiant character named Shadow Man, and I really like that book. It is based around voodoo and that type of magic. So they go into a place called the Dead Side, which is in volume 1 what the little kids call that town. They're like, we need to go to the Dead Side.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this the same Dead Side that Shadow Man like has his powers are kind of attached to? And it didn't seem like it was.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing. It's this kind of netherworld, underworld place of darkness and magic, and so maybe this is just a town hidden within the Dead Side. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe to these kids it's like, well, there's the dead side of town and the deader side of town.
Right. Grass is always deader on the other side. But I liked that because it is this kind of dark, seedy town with the like markets of like, oh, what's happening here? There's all these weird creatures, and then there's this basically this weird town ritual.
I did
happening.
like this.
It's just this weird town ritual thing happening where there's someone in a cage, just sitting there. And everyone is sitting there watching him. And she's like, what's the deal with this? And he's like, well, they have to stay in the cage until someone lets them out of the cage. But then they have to go in the cage until someone lets them out.
Yeah.
But if you let someone out of the cage, they owe you a favor. And so Dr. Mirage ended up gambling on that, and it kind of worked out. But we haven't seen the ramifications of that yet, because she put herself in the cage while she was being hunted by this one dude. The one dude then opened up the cage and was like, ha, fooled you, and she escaped. And then later on down the road, when we see this guy that was hunting her, he was like, well, now you owe me a favor. I'm here to collect. And she manages to escape, but that whole thing was neat. I really enjoyed that. That was like the one part of volume 1 that I was interested in. Like, what is going on here? This is fascinating.
I like that sort of logic game. This is some of the same stuff I liked in She-Hulk, like all the lawyer business of these loopholes, and there's all these rules and stipulations, but you have to see if you can circumvent them and find a way to like obey the letter of the thing, but still get what you want out of it.
Right.
That's always good.
I think to add to that, I really liked so when she takes on the job, she was like, all right, fine, I'll do it, but I need a few things from your museum/library here to help me do some research. And she just seemingly starts grabbing stuff. We don't really know what they are or what the purposes are, but then when she's in the underworld, she kind of uses them as bargaining chips of like, hey, I have stuff to trade. Like, I'll give you this pile of bones that I took from this one dude. I don't know what they are, but here, you could have these bones. And then there's one thing in particular that she has that we don't know anything about, but everyone seemed to value it.
And it's like
it's like a shrunken skull.
It looked like it was like a doll's head, like a little baby head.
Yeah.
Like taken off a doll or something. And it's apparently like so valuable, and it gives off like really positive energy. So she gives it to these like basically like spiritually starved people down there in the underworld. And the guy's like, this will feed my whole village. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's just like, this is really fascinating, but what was that? Why is it so powerful? What's the mythology behind that? Like, that's the stuff I want this book to explore more of, but at the like I don't want them to necessarily do it in the underworld all the time, because maybe this is me just trying to put things in different boxes. I feel like Shadow Man's territory is the dead side. Is this kind of more, are people dead in this realm? We don't really know. It's this kind of in-between spot. Whereas Dr. Mirage, she's more of a paranormal investigator. So maybe she goes to the dead side every now and then, but I want to see her on Earth. What do these objects do and mean to people on Earth and to the people studying them, right?
Yeah. And I love the use of
stuff that I want.
Everyday objects as like these. I love property magic. I love magic based on a physical thing and what kind of properties and elements and like themes it carries with it. Like we have to use this special plant, the special wood, the special stone, this scent of incense, and not any other scent of incense will make this work because of this reason. And I like when Hwen goes into the scroll in volume 2 and she has to do the spell to get him out of the scroll.
Yeah.
One of the things that's part of her like summoning ritual is an owl pellet, which, you know, an owl like gulps down all these mice and whatever. And then it like coughs up this like hairball almost of like bones and hair and things. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that's basically what we're asking the scroll to do. Regurgitate Hwen back to me. So to represent that in the physical world, here's an owl pellet.
Yeah, that was a really interesting way for them to kind of explain their magic. I liked that a lot. Like I don't need a scientific explanation, right? I don't need an exact science, but this thing of like, hey, the stuff we use in these potions and spells and stuff, they're basically metaphors of we need it to do something like this.
Yes.
We want the spell to bring this character out and like spit him back out, right? So here's some vomit.
Yeah.
Like that's basically we want it to do. And I really enjoyed that. Like that's a good explanation of why you would have these like seemingly random or strange things being mixed up into a potion. I really enjoyed that.
That's always one of my favorite magic things, is taking like an everyday like natural object and turning it into something wild. I'd love to see further down the line if it does have to be a natural object, or if like one time she's in a pinch and she uses like funny joke throw up from a prank store, and like could she get that same effect?
My computer just spazzed out.
Huh.
Hold on a sec. Let's see if I can figure out what is happening here. GarageBand stopped recording. Okay. Here's what I'm going to have you do. I'm basically just going to have you repeat what you just said in response to me being like, I really enjoyed that type of magic that they just did.
Okay. It's always one of my favorite things in a magic story when the wizard takes an everyday physical object that we all know and just turns it into something wild because it represents this. It comes from this natural line of this. And as silly as it sounds, I'd be intrigued to see like farther in the future, like what does it always have to be a natural object? Because she's pulling out like the owl pellet and like plants and woods and things. And I'd like to see if when she needs to do a regurgitation spell again, if she doesn't have an owl pellet, could she take like a fake prank throw up from a joke store and do enough people believe in the fake prank throw up that it works, that it still has enough magic to it?
Also part of, I think, the collective platonic thing of magic is it's about belief.
Yes.
Too, the more that people believe in it, the more power it has. So yeah, I feel like maybe something like that joke vomit could work if enough people believe or don't know that it's fake and they just think that it's real.
Yeah, or if she has to like do an exorcism, her client is a clown, Like, nobody believes in funny joke throughout more than a clown.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I think overall, Volume 1, if we had read that by itself, I think that may have turned me off to this story as a whole. But Volume 2 was really good. I really enjoyed Volume 2.
Same. I really dug Volume 2. And there's a scene where they're like fighting on the sidewalk outside of Shan and Hwen's house that is so much more interesting, and so it feels so much more high stakes than anything that was taking place in like the abyss, full of dead souls.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the artwork in this, but I think by Volume 2 they really refined the style.
There's something no, you can go ahead. Okay.
Okay.
No, fine. Okay, you go first.
Let me just say this one thing fast, and then you can go. I think both art styles seem very kind of scratchy. I think that's the typical word that most people would use. It has a lot of texture, and I like both of them. But I think in this world that we don't know in Volume 1, to have that scratchy look to it, it's a little bit hard to decipher. Whereas on Earth, with things that I know, it was just like, oh, okay, I understand what's happening here a lot better than I did in Volume 1.
Yeah, like the underworld looks cool. The underworld looks cool, but it is so much more like texture and shadow, and it's less of a sense of like shape and dimension. And I get that. Like, it's an underworld. Like, it's not a place of physical properties. Like, it makes sense. But just to have so much of the story be taking place there in the very first volume, it's just like a little hard to get a handle on the whole narrative. Something I noticed, I think the artwork gets scratchier the more magic they're dealing with.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't exactly track this, but like there's
notice that.
Like, if there's panels that's just about like, we're talking about the house, you know, we're talking about a relationship, we're talking about our TV career, like the artwork is cleaner. I didn't like study this. I just sort of kind of noticed it, and I don't know if that was intentional or if I'm just making things up.
Might have to go back and investigate.
Yeah, I will say I loved what Volume 2, what both volumes did with the word bubbles. Because Volume 1 has a lot of really nice fonts to it. Like when these underworld deities are speaking, they've got that kind of Thor-looking script to all their word bubbles. And in Volume 2, when I just read this. What's the bad guy's name in Volume 2?
Let me look that up.
But when that guy
is terrible with names.
I just read this. There's a D in it. When that guy is like casting spells, his word bubbles are just like these hieroglyphic looking pictograms.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like he's just shouting knife, knife, knife. Yeah. When he's trying to like launch an attack spell on someone. And then there's a part where like Hwen is fighting him back. And Hwen's word bubble, there's no word in it, and it's just entirely filled with a rainbow gradient. I've never seen anything like that before, and that is really cool. Like, it's so abstract, but it gets the point across of this is some ethereal positive magic that he's trying to launch back at this aggressive knife icon magic.
Exactly. Or just like it was... It's not a language that we can understand, but it's something like this.
Yes.
Here's a symbol of a sword. Let's see. No, there's Linton March. Say the dude's name. I'm looking on Comixology here. DeWalt. That was his last name.
Thank you. I've been surrounded by other like 2-part last names recently, and I'm like, it's not Don DeLillo. That's an author. It's somebody else. Okay. Yeah, all that stuff with DeWalt Does it also start with a D? I don't know. We don't have to be on first name basis with the bad guy. Like, we're not friends.
We can just be the, like, Newman from
Newman.
DeWalt.
DeWalt.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out sometime else.
I will say that one thing I liked about both volumes is that the story is set in Southern California, and it does feel like Southern California. Like when she goes to Linton Marsh's mansion, it is this like Spanish style, like it's all stucco and like wrought iron, and like she has this little beach house. Like everything looks like it would belong there. And then in volume 2, we get to travel a lot more. We go to that really pretty, like, it was again like this old Hearstian mansion that has been converted now into like a tennis club and country club. Right. And the part where we go to Barcelona and they're trying to find this place, and Hwen's like, how do you get to where she lives? And Shan's just like, well, you just have to walk around and think about a blue door. Think real hard about a blue door. And the more you walk around and the more you think about it, the blue door will appear. And that's her house.
Name was Dennis, I think.
Dennis.
God damn it, I forget his name already.
DeWalt.
DeWalt or DeWitt?
DeWalt?
DeWalt.
DeWalt?
DeWalt. Let's stick with DeWalt.
Yeah. You know, like the power tools.
You guys should know by now that we are terrible with names, or at least me. I am terrible.
I'm usually
with names.
better.
Oh well.
I'm not on my A game today.
But yeah, the artwork was fantastic. The environments was neat. The fonts were neat. I really enjoyed the colors. There was a lot of great colors where each panel was, or each page was like washed in red or blue, or here's an all green page, and it worked really nicely to give these environments kind of a more cinematic feeling to them. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about with the art and how the art and the narrative work together. When you first pitched this to me last week, I Googled it and I noticed she has this kind of like sci-fi looking like slick suit kind of deal. Like she's dressed more like a superhero, and I thought that's odd. She's like a magic user. Her outfit doesn't necessarily need to be very tactical. Like she doesn't need to dress like a super spy. I wonder what this is about. And they don't explain it until like fairly deep into the story, but it's, well, first of all, that's the only outfit that Hwen put magic properties on before he died. Like he was enchanting that outfit to be like extra protective and things like that. And he only got to the one. So she wears this one outfit like she is a superhero all the time. But I don't think this is in the narrative. I think this is in like the character design pages at the end of volume 1. It says another reason she wears that outfit is that having a specialized uniform makes the human clients she's dealing with feel comforted. Like, oh, this must be a real expert.
Yeah.
Like, look, she looks absolutely ready for the job. This isn't somebody wandering up and just like, their college sweatshirt or something like that.
Uniform, right? They're not in some like gym t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah. I liked that part of it. And I liked how much of what Shan was trying to do was to comfort people that she's dealing with. Like her and Hwen used to host this reality show about like speaking to the dead. And it's not this like sensational ghost hunters thing. It seems like a real practical advice to living people about, they keep calling it like the spiritual ecosystem. Like they're really there to make living people feel better about the concept of death and spirits. Like it's really benevolent, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
It's more of like a PBS educational show than like a reality show. Or it's like Mythbusters. Like it's a reality show for good.
They made a point to basically describe ghosts as not something bad or that you should want to get away from your house, but they're actually there to protect you against bigger things. Like
I loved that.
Think of, I don't know if they use this example or not, but like think of spiders, or stuff, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You might think they're icky or gross or something like that, but they often do a good thing by keeping other bugs out of your house. So if you have a couple spiders, you might just want to leave them be.
Yeah.
Or, burn your house down. That's fine with me too. So
only if it's one of those big Australian spiders.
Well,
and I think they
too soon on that one, but
they're still there, right?
Well, did we? Australia's burning.
Have we lost 100% of the spiders?
We've almost lost 100% of Australia. Have you seen that picture of the wombat going around?
I saw a koala.
I'll send you this picture
well, if
of
it's sad, don't show
wombat.
it to me.
It's not. Well, I mean, it's sad in the sense that, like, yeah, they're losing their homes, but why did nobody tell me that they are gigantic? They are huge. Yeah.
How big is a wombat? We're gonna get back to the magic in a minute. Wombat.
The picture is huge.
Oh, well, they are big. Like, they're not huge, but they're like, potbelly pig size.
No, the one that is in
this
picture is like this size of a human.
What?
Yeah. Let me see if I can. I'll find it afterwards.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah. No one told me. They were huge. Weird.
Anyway, what I was saying about the magic is that a lot of the ghosts that are quote unquote haunting your house, those are just the spirits of people who have lived there and died. Like, they're just people. Like, they're not demons, and they lived here once. They're kind of protective over their home, and they understand it's your home now, so they want to protect it for you, and they keep these bigger spirits away.
Mm-hmm. And
something it says is that these spirits, like the benevolent, like friendly old family spirits, they don't like high-speed travel. Like, they don't like airplanes. So that's why everybody feels nervous when they're flying, because there's no ghosts up there. And ghosts actually create this like warm, comforting energy around you.
Yeah. It's a fascinating way to explain that stuff. And I really enjoy that of like, explain this to me enough where I understand it, but not so much that like everything, like every detail is explained, right? Which is why I think the font choices that they made of like, these are words that we just don't know, but it's something like a sword, or it's something like this blend of colors. Who knows? Like, I like that mixed with this stuff of like, well, actually, ghosts are good things. Like, you don't need to be scared of them. So. Yeah,
like, they don't just explain things appropriately. Like, they give it enough detail at the right time, and they don't overdo it or underdo it. A lot of their explanations for things are very positive. Like, I don't know if I've seen another supernatural narrative like this that's as pro-supernatural, that's saying like, no, a lot of that stuff out there is really good and it helps you. And there's, like they said, the spiritual ecosystem around you that you have to care for. Like, you have to take care of ghosts the way you would take care of like honeybees.
Yeah. Instead of them having like a ghost hunting show on the History Channel, they have one on like HGTV, Home and Gardens. It's like, and here's how to cook for the ghosts. Here's how you do that. Here's how you foster the ghosts that are in your house.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fun. Let's talk a little bit. So at the end of volume 1, we kind of get what was his name? Hwen. Back, which is the Mr. Mirage. Kind of get him back, but he's still dead.
Yeah, he's still just plain old spirit.
But we can she can finally talk to him and see him, or see his spirit and talk to his spirit and stuff like that. However, they also have an Alfred-like character that is like maintains the house. He's their manager. I guess he doesn't really maintain the house, but he's more concerned about their TV show of like, well, how are we gonna get this TV show to continue? It's been off the air for 5 years.
And also,
we need to make this work.
And I like that he's not this like bossy, greedy manager. Like at the end of volume 1, their house
like
gets
a friend.
Yeah. And like the end of volume 1, like their house, like a lot of it gets destroyed. And they need money to rebuild the house. And that's what he's doing. Like he's building revenue so that they can rebuild the house and rebuild their stockpile of like magical items for spells, and also continue to teach the public this is how you deal with a ghost.
Right.
Again, this was something I wasn't expecting for that view of the TV industry that they're in to be so warm.
It was interesting. Because you would think that like a agent would have multiple clients and is more so about making himself money by using these people, but that didn't seem to be the case with this. Who knows? Maybe down the road he'll turn out to be a greedy, money-hungry pig, but who knows? But I liked that.
Yeah.
And then he has this wacky idea to like, what if we just hire someone that looks like Hwen, and Hwen can possess him?
Yeah.
And that way it's like actually him speaking and moving and stuff. And it's like, it comes from a good spot. It's like, look, I know you're only trying to help, but that's actually a really bad idea. Like, let's not do this.
I was intrigued by that they're like, look, even if he was completely informed, willing, consenting, he was well paid, he was compensated for all of his time.
It's just
that's
rude.
A weird, gray, unethical area for us mediums, so we don't want to do it. And I'm curious about like the background of that and like what the bad cases of voluntary possession have been, or if there are any good cases out there that they're like, well, I recognize this goes against our guidelines, but in this one case, that looks like that worked out for both of you.
Yeah. But he still ends up finding an actor to potentially fill that role. And he seems to be kind of training him, kind of giving him a very long interview / training process of like, this is what the job would be like. This is the person that you're going to be imitating or stuff like that. You need to learn, is this possible? Can you do that? Can you make it work? And we don't get to see much of him in that role. There is a scene at the end where they are filming something. But there is a moment when they are facing DeWitt.
Yes.
And
it's DeWalt, like the
God damn it. They're facing DeWalt. Or they go to his old house, and they're trying to figure out how to get in there without having the proper clearance, or like, hey, we're not members of your tennis club, but we need to go back and do all this secret stuff that you don't want to know about. And he has this like moment where he just kind of shines, and he is just completely playing this role. And afterwards, Shan is like, that was still really weird, but thanks. That helped out a lot.
The actor's name is Alex, and I did really like him because he's so gung-ho and enthusiastic about everything.
It's this kind of like live-in role.
Yeah.
Which is
like he's
an odd, I mean, I'm not an actor, so I don't know if that is something that is very sought after, of just like, this is the one role you will have for the next 10 years. That's it. And it's basically a live-in role. Like, you will live as this person. That's a deep role. So
I like that Alex could have been painted as like hungry for stardom or hungry for the money were like really judgmental of the supernatural stuff, but he's taking this just because it's a job. But again, no, he feels very positively about this. I liked all the small ways in which this was a really positive story.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing I can maybe think of that why he wouldn't be as surprised with the supernatural, a little bit of spoilers for some other Valiant comics, but people have like recently have been finding out that people with superpowers actually exist, and they have been around for a long time. There was an event that I read over the winter break just a couple weeks ago called Armor Hunters, in which basically Mexico City gets destroyed by an alien robot. And it is just completely gone. And so they know aliens exist. They know people with superpowers exist. So maybe him not necessarily being like, ghosts? What? They're real? Maybe him not reacting that way is more of just like, okay, so we have aliens, giant robots, people with superpowers, and ghosts. I guess that makes sense.
He does also mention that he used to watch the original Shan and Hwen TV show when it was airing like 5 years ago. And he's like, yeah, I watched that when I was a kid. And it's been off the air for like 5 years. So he's like a young guy. I imagine he's like college age, maybe.
Yeah. Like 18 to 22-ish.
Yeah. And he's just this like fresh-faced puppy dog.
Oh, show business is going to ruin him. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I would be interested to see where his character goes, because that's the last panel of Volume 2 is this kind of twist or this reveal that, hey, during the midst of all of this supernatural stuff, he changed. So it seems like someone maybe actually is possessing him. Is this,
or at least
DeWalt?
Yeah, like there's like a sliver of DeWalt in there, because the power that the DeWalt spirit had was that he could just like knock a spirit out of a body, like knock its own spirit, be like, well, I possessed your body, and then you're just floating around like a ghost, like, what? Well, how do I get back?
God damn it, now I have to get my body back. Okay.
That happened to Alex a lot. Oh, and I like this point where he's outside of his body and Shan's like, is it cool if I knock your living body unconscious so I can get DeWalt out of there? And he's like, yeah, it's cool,
not in the face. Not in the face.
Yeah, as long as my face is good. Do anything.
He's an actor in Hollywood. What do you expect?
It looks like there's at least a sliver of DeWalt that's like left in him still.
Or something else. We don't know if it is. It
looked like a similar possession effect to what DeWalt was using, but then also we haven't really seen other possessions. Maybe that's what all of them look like, no matter who the spirit is. You had a point.
Maybe it's the Evros dude, I believe his name was in Volume 1, because he's still after Dr. Mirage. So maybe he's hunting her down. Who knows? I one thing I also thought was neat was that monocle that they had, the like household that they went to in Volume 2. There was a family who that was like, yeah, we know ghosts exist. There's a bunch that live here in this house because they're all family. But they had this like monocle that allowed them to see the ghosts. I thought that was neat. Like that kind of supernatural stuff is exactly what I want from this book. Not necessarily we're gonna spend a whole adventure in the dark, the dead side.
Yeah,
that's just me.
It's like, I would rather see just a bunch of everyday things made magic instead of here we are 100% magic worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, could you imagine a Thor movie where it's all Asgard? Something would be missing.
I mean, certain things about that would be fantastic. I would kind of like to say that, but I think that's the thing. I think Thor feels at home there, and
that's true.
I
don't
necessarily feel like Dr. Mirage feels at home.
Yeah, it's not like she just goes on jaunts through, the netherworld.
Yeah, because she knew enough to be like, okay, I'm in a world that I don't understand. What are the rules?
Yeah.
And she was smart enough to ask, like, is there things that I should be aware of? Things I shouldn't say, people I shouldn't talk to, spots I shouldn't go. And they didn't really give her much help, but enough to be like, all right, go that way.
One thing that bugs me now that I'm thinking about it, not in that it's annoying, just in that it's interesting, and I wonder what like narrative things might come out of this. It is very easy for her to get into the underworld. Like, it seems like she has very easy access to the ritual that does it and all the objects needed for the ritual. And I'm like, if it was that easy for you, how easy is it for other people? Are there other people just wandering around the netherworld? Like, why is that among all these magic things she has to do? Why is that one of the simplest things?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I feel like, I mean, they do place a lot of emphasis on ritual and how ritual doesn't necessarily need to be exact, but there is intention behind it. So if you are an amateur, you might not get it right, even though you have all the aspects right, or you have all the right ingredients. You might not have the right intention or the right feeling, because they said like you need to trust your gut with this stuff. So it might be that where she is experienced enough that it is easy for her. But I mean, we've only read 2 volumes here. I'm not sure how much more of this book there is. I didn't check. But who knows? That might be something they explore down the road. I mean, it did look like she went through extensive training. There was the stuff when she first met her husband, and they started learning all of that stuff. Ghost hunting school.
I did like that she went to school for this, and she literally has a PhD in doing what she does.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's good. Like, I would also kind of want to see that's the story. Like, what are they like in school? What were their adventures like together? Shan and her husband. When, because that seemed like a lot of fun, because there was a good amount of time, 5-6 years, I'm not sure, where they had adventures together and did all of this stuff, and then one day he died.
I did really like the dynamic that the two of them had, and I would like to see how did they tackle non-supernatural things. Like, how did they pick out a car or something like that? How did they pick their wedding venue? Like, how do you tackle just a normal problem? Just a little bit of that sprinkled among all this magic and ritual would be interesting.
I mean, we're still gonna get that now that his spirit is back and around. It's just a little bit of a different dynamic, because she's the only one that can see him and talk to him besides us as a writer.
That's right. We also can.
Yeah. We have magical powers. Oh my gosh.
We can talk to him.
He can talk to ghosts. But yeah, it's good. It's fun.
One thing
this a lot.
Yeah, one thing I'll say real quick that I liked about the relationship is that this friend they're going to go meet in Barcelona, Selena, it said that her specialty is sex magic. And Hwen asks Shan, so when I was dead, did you guys? And Shan's like, well, she offered, her, like, she's always trying to make you feel better, and that's her specialty, and like, support the whole body, start there, and that'll affect your spirit and all that. And she's like, I thought about it, but it wasn't right. She was very understanding about it. I like that.
Nice moment.
I thought that was sweet. Yeah. And then also there's that I forget at which point, but there's some female ghost flirting with Hwen, like kind of indicating like, well, you and your wife can't touch each other, but like since we are both ghosts, there's some sort of mischief we can get up to. And he's like, sorry, ma'am, I am monogamous.
Yeah, I am very much a ghost and very much monogamous. Sorry.
But I like that that's what he says instead of I'm married or that's my wife. Like he says it like, oh, this is a choice I've made.
Yeah.
Like they are both very specifically devoted to each other in this monogamous relationship. But there's things like Shan says something like when she tried dating again after he died, she's like no. It was when Alex is trying on Hwen's old clothes, Hwen's like, does he look better than me? It's okay. You can tell me. And Shan's like, no, you always look the best to me. Like it feels very specific. I don't know. Like we haven't seen any other like married couples yet, but this seems like a story where we have this very specific devoted monogamous couple, but it seems like that's them.
No one looks better than you in or out of those clothes.
But like any other couple they encounter could be making any other kind of life choices. Like it seemed like this was the narrative state on this is what this couple is up to. Them specifically. Monogamy, big deal for them. Others we have yet to see. Could be different.
Yeah. It was good.
Again, just like
I just wish Volume 1 was a little bit more first-timer friendly.
Yeah.
I don't know. So here's also one thing that I also did. I don't want to say didn't like, but I struggled with.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like the dialogue in this book.
Okay.
I'm struggling to explain that and put a finger on like what exactly I didn't like about it. I was trying to think of like, well, it really does seem like they're talking and they understand each other, and that's what they would say. But there's kind of a difference between how people actually talk and like writing that down and making it like I thought maybe it's somewhere with that of like this seems almost too authentic that it's hard to read. It's not readable. If that makes sense. That's a strange thing to kind of nitpick at, but
I don't know if I really picked up on that, but I will say I think there were times when like the exposition they were giving, not all of it really got through to me. And that might have just been me. I might have been tired. I might have been like, well, I know I have to have this finished by a certain time. So I'm kind of just like watching the pages count down, like, can I finish this? Which is unfortunately sometimes a drawback to this format. But yeah, like sometimes like the exposition like wasn't getting through to me, and I would have to read a page a couple times like, wait, what does this do? What do we want? Where are we going? And it's
like
not,
it just I don't know. Like I think especially in Volume 1 when we are in this foreign world, it's just like I don't understand what's happening. They seem to be talking fluently and everyone understands one another. And it like I felt like so much of an outsider that I was just like, is this Volume 4? Am I supposed to know what some of this stuff means? And then again, we all liked Volume 2. I thought that was a improvement, but also I don't necessarily think the dialogue changed in Volume 2. I was now maybe more familiar with them, and that's like, okay, this makes sense now.
Yeah, Volume 1 is missing any kind of like audience surrogate, like point of view character. Everybody talking to each other mostly knows what they're talking about. There's very little like metaphor, like, okay, think of this like this, and then it does that. Like it's it is a little hard to learn from. Like, you get the gist of everything, certainly, but I think there are times where, like, I wish I knew, like, I had a slightly better handle on the specifics.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, I want to go into a world that feels fleshed out and lived in. And I think Volume 1 absolutely felt like that. But they were dealing with things that all the characters already seemed to be familiar with.
Yeah.
And I was not. Whereas Lord of the Rings, sure, it's a brand new world or something like that. But they are discovering new things as you discover it with them. And like I didn't feel like I was discovering things with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I will say
it was still just like, you guys know what's happening here. I'm just gonna tag along.
The story is nice, but the dialogue doesn't have like a tremendous sparkle to it. Like, I don't know if there's any points where I'm like, I laughed out loud. Not that it's like trying to do that and failing. It's just not particularly trying to do it. And one final thing I want to say about the art is the logo design.
I love it.
I like it, but it led me to believe this was going to be kookier than what it is. Like the kind of off-kilter letters and the eye in Mirage is a little
70s
skull.
style.
It looks like
font.
tiki bar font almost.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it looks like something you would see in Adventure Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to have a story that is nice, but it is, I like the story. I like what it is. It's not like I'm like, a comedy element is missing, but it is this like straightforward, supernatural, like adventure, kind of a thriller, kind of a romance sort of story. And it doesn't have a sort of like fun, swashbuckly, kind of wacky side to it, that I look at the logo and that's what I feel like it should have. Like, the logo's good, the story is good, but there's like a little disconnect between the two of them.
That absolutely makes sense. I wonder if the book heads in that direction after this.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Good stuff. I think that's kind of all I really have to say about Dr. Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to recommend some things to people if they liked this, what would you recommend?
First off, whenever I think of a couple dealing with the afterlife, I think of Beetlejuice.
Okay.
We all know what Beetlejuice is, but it also reminded me of Beyond Belief, which is a story from the thrilling. It's from the Thrilling Adventure Hour.
Okay.
Which, if you're not familiar with that, Thrilling Adventure Hour was a series of audio drama podcasts. Mm-hmm. And they're still running in kind of a modified format. And I think a lot of their back episodes are paywalled at this point. So I don't know how accessible it is unless you have like, I don't even think it's like a Stitcher Premium. I think it might be like a Patreon or something that gets you the back catalogs. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is out there for you to listen to. But the story was, it was these two mediums, this married couple of mediums named Frank and Sadie Doyle. And they were this like, early 20th century, like high-rise apartment, like rich aristocrats, like always like toasting each other and drinking cocktails. Like they've got this like great Gatsby aesthetic to them. And they're mediums, like they can talk to ghosts. And all these people come pounding at their door like, well, I got a ghost. I got a werewolf. I got a fairy. I got a boogeyman. And they're like, oh, fine, we'll help you if you'll leave. Like, all they want to do is sit in their apartment, drink, and flirt with each other. They are head over heels for each other, like even this deep in their marriage. They're also like this incredibly tightly bonded, like power couple. There's like, well, fine, we'll see if we can solve your vampire problem. Honey, pack the vodka. The vodka's coming with us.
We need the vodka.
And they did do
vodka will help us solve this.
At least a couple issues of comics based on this. I don't know how far they got, but I bought and read the first couple comics. They are really fun and they look great. Like very pretty illustration and coloring. So yeah, if you can find any issues of the Beyond Belief comic book or find any access to the older episodes of the podcast, it's one of my favorite stories.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mentioned Shadow Man earlier in the show. I think if you like stories involving magic, Shadow Man is one to check out. Like I mentioned, it deals more with voodoo and all of that side of things, but it is the kind of darker stories of magic within the Valiant universe. So that would be something to check out. I really enjoyed that book. I think another good one would be Doctor Strange. If maybe you want some Marvel stuff, there is the movie that you guys can go check out if you guys want that. But go check out some of the Doctor Strange comics. I know Jason Aaron had a good run on that a little more recently, so that might be something to check out. In fact, I think Paul and I covered the Doctor Strange comics by Jason Aaron on an old episode of the Whatnauts podcast.
I think maybe you did.
Which is now up on our website.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is up there. So you guys can go check it out if you guys want to track that down as well. I think we read the first 2 volumes of that. It's somewhere on there.
I'm looking for it now, because now I need to know.
But while you are looking that up, let me do one more plug for our Patreon. If you guys enjoy what we do here at the Whatnauts, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We are literally $1 away from reaching our first goal. We are trying to reach $15 a month. It is honestly not that much, but that will cover like the most basic of basic hosting costs for us. So if you like what we do, please consider helping us out. Patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us. And throw us some pocket change.
We'd appreciate it. I did double check. You guys did cover on episode 41 Doctor Strange volumes 1 and 2 from Jason Aaron and Chris Bachalo. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you knew.
I think that's how you say his name. Say it with confidence. DeWitt.
DeWalt.
Right, exactly.
Kyle, are you ready for the pitches for next week?
Yes. I am excited to hear what they are. What do you got?
Okay. So last week with Sherlock and John, the game was afoot. And this week,
the game is a hand.
So I'm going to pitch that Dissevered Hand movie back to you this week.
Right.
No, I'm not tired of games yet. So I have 3 movies that are all about games.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. Pitch number 1 is a new release. This is a movie that just came out last fall. I didn't get out to see it in the theater, but it is available for rental now. I saw it at my local Redbox at the grocery store this weekend.
Good
and I'm
old
like,
Redbox.
I've been meaning to watch this. Let's see if Kyle wants to watch it. This is a movie called Ready or Not. And the plot of this,
that one.
It's, I think it was like a slightly smaller movie. I don't think it got very big, but everything I've heard about it was that it was really fun. And it's got a neat premise where this woman marries into this family that are like old money millionaires because they're board game magnates. They have this huge board game enterprise. It's like marrying into Parker Brothers.
They have a monopoly on Monopoly.
Exactly.
But thank you. I'm here all week.
So it's, I believe it's her wedding night. It's after the ceremony. There's like a private gathering of immediate family members. Just her and everybody and her new husband's side of the family are there at the family mansion. They're like, well, we have this tradition that we do every time a new person marries into the family. We're all going to play a game together. And you get to, and like, there's like you pick a card, you spin a wheel, something. Like you pick one of the games. And the game she ends up picking is hide and seek. But it's like mortal hide and seek. Like, you need to survive the night. You need to win hide and seek in order to stay in this family, or we are going to kill you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most of the movie like takes place inside this mansion, and it's just all this game. It's a big hide and seek game inside of this mansion. And the movie poster is her in her wedding dress, I think holding like a shotgun or something. Like the kind of like decorative shotgun a rich person would put over a fireplace.
Right. Yeah.
Or I guess anybody. Like if you've got enough money for a fireplace and a shotgun, you could do that. It's attainable to all. Yep. So pitch number 1 is Ready or Not.
Gotcha.
Pitch number 2, these next 2 movies are both specifically about game shows.
Okay.
Yeah. The next pitch is Quiz Show. This is a 1994 movie directed by our old buddy, Robert Redford.
Hey there, Robert Redford.
And the story of this is it's based on true events, and it's set in the 1950s when, like, quiz shows are the popular thing on TV, and TV itself is brand new. And people don't know what to put on TV yet, so they're like, oh, let's just make...
No whammies, no whammies, no whammies, come on.
Press Your Luck wasn't a trivia game show, though. This is, like, trivia game shows are, like, big on TV here in the 1950s.
Sure.
And it says, an idealistic young lawyer working for a congressional subcommittee discovers that TV quiz shows are being fixed. His investigation focuses on 2 contestants on the show 21. Herbert Snemple, a brash working-class Jew from Queens, and Charles Van Doren, the scion of one of America's leading literary families. And so the creators of the show kind of set it up so that Charles Van Doren would win because it looks better. He's like the shining, darling poster boy. And they're like, he should be the winner. So we're going to like secretly feed him answers. So it's all about like him realizing what he's gotten wrapped up in, the other contestant realizing he's been cheated, and this
interesting.
And then this lawyer realizing, oh, there's so much illegal stuff going on now. And it's all based on real stuff.
Okay.
I watched this movie in my high school media class. It stars Ray Fiennes, and this movie made Ray Fiennes one of my very favorite actors.
There you go. Did you have a quiz on the quiz show?
I don't know if we actually had any projects related to it, or if it was
Missed
like
opportunity.
It's just movie time, kids. Watch the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Pitch number 3, the next game show specific movie. This is Slumdog Millionaire.
Gotcha.
This is the 2008 film from director Danny Boyle. This is the story of Jamal Malik, an 18-year-old orphan from the slums of Mumbai who is about to experience the biggest day of his life, according to IMDb. With the whole nation watching, he is just one question away from winning a staggering 20 million rupees on India's Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Okay.
When the show breaks for the night, police arrest him on suspicion of cheating. You're just a street kid. How do you know all of this? Desperate to prove his innocence, Jamal tells the story of his life in the slums, and every story from his life connects to knowing the answer to one of these Who Wants to Be a Millionaire trivia questions. I haven't seen this movie, but I remember it being really well received when it came out. And it's something I've continually been curious about because it just seems like such an interesting premise and framing device for a movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So our 3 movies this week are Ready or Not, Quiz Show, or Slumdog Millionaire.
I remember when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was like the TV show you had to watch.
Yes.
What a time to be alive. Oh man, I don't know. I kind of wanna do the first one.
Ready or Not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it
just
seems
sounds
really
so
fun.
Out there.
Yes.
Just like, beat us in hide and seek, and you can marry into the family. But if you lose, we get to kill you. So.
And from the trailer I saw, like, the family is like, it's kind of like a dark comedy. Like, they're a little bit more inept than they are sinister. Mm-hmm. This movie seems like it's kind of in the vein of like Knives Out or Clue or something like that, where it is this like, you know, kind of cat and mouse game chase, but it's like a little wacky. And it's in a beautiful mansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. It's called Ready or Not.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah, and this just came out. I don't know where it is available yet, but like I said, I saw it at my local Red Box. I imagine most of us walk past a Red Box in our weekly lives, even if we don't stop and look at it. Your library might have it. You might have a local video store.
Having fun's not hard when you got a library card.
No.
Good. We will do that for this next week, Ready or Not. So, Ready or Not, get ready for Ready or Not. Melissa, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WILKYWIT.
You can find me at Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. And if you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. And I don't know what else to say at the end here, so we're just going to end it right there.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, thank you so much for checking out our video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you guys also read the Death-Defying Doctor Mirage, let us know what your favorite part was down below, or something else you might recommend to someone else who likes paranormal stuff or magic and things like that. Maybe it's a movie, who knows. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up here in this corner, and go watch one of our other videos right down there. That would help us out a ton. We got a bunch of podcasts for you to check out. So yeah, go do that, and hopefully you can find something that you might like. Cool. Bye.